everyone, this is Elena of The Witch's Box, and I'm here today with another episode of Witch BookTube. And today is the April recap. April was a long month. We had 5 different books that I reviewed, and 4 of them were actual print books, and one of them was an audiobook. These are the 4 books that we covered, and the 5th book was Intuition and the Mystical Life by Clarissa, Pinkola, Estés, and Carolyn Myss. I'm just going to start with that one first because that one is on my phone. I really enjoyed this audiobook. It was a surprise because A, it was an audiobook, but it was also an example of a crossover because it was something that I was listening to for my own personal reading pleasure and not specifically for the Witch's BookTube, but I felt that it applied to a lot of the different conversations that we have had individually over social media or email about how to develop your own personal intuition. This book wasn't so much about how to, as much as it was about the topic of your own personal intuition itself, as well as kind of listening into a conversation between 2 people who I really believe are spiritual elders in our broader spiritual community, having a really spiritually mature conversation about intuition and what the internal terrain of that looks like for each of us. I thought it was a great book, a great listen. It's a couple of hours. It's an audiobook, and the only reason I listened to it as an audiobook was because I can't find this in print anywhere. A lot of the things that Clarissa, Pinkola, Estés, not a lot, but I would say maybe so far half, that I have found are audio pieces and not printed. And I'm on a big kick right now to listen to basically anything and everything that she's ever done or read everything that she's ever written because I am a huge Jungian psychology fan, but also I am a particular follower of her. I think she is one of the wise elders of our community right now, and one of the books that she wrote, Women Who Run with the Wolves, was a seminal book in my life. I can listen to her speak all the time, forever and ever. It's just really amazing. Another book that we read and talked about in April was A Druid's Herbal for the Sacred Earth Year by Evert Hopman. Remember this one? Also loved it. It's a great reference guide. It talks a lot about the Wheel of the Year through the lens of Druidry. And I really enjoyed it. And I also appreciate it in the kitchen as a reference guide. You know, we always have those books where we want to look at correspondences for herbs. This talks about both the healing applications of herbs as well as the magical applications. This book also was great because in the very beginning, she talks about herbal basics. So how to create tinctures, how to create salves, how to do infusions. I wouldn't say it's a comprehensive instructional on those things, but it's a great primer so that it gives you more information on how to work with the herbs that she talks about and the herbs that you have in your kitchen. So it was great. It was a great reference guide that way. So there's this. The other book, I think this was probably in the very, very beginning of April. It's The Modern Witchcraft Guide to the Wheel of the Year by Judy and Nock. I love this book. It was a great take on the Wheel of the Year because it focused so deeply on the astrological happenings during each time of the year. It gave us a lot of background around that, what you can see in the sky at different times of the year, what the lore or mythology around what's going on in the sky at different points in the Wheel of the Year are. So I enjoyed it, and the exercises, the crafts, the meditations, and the rituals that she shares in this book were really lovely. I enjoyed this book. I really did. And I'm looking forward to other things that she might be doing in the future because it's a really well-researched book and well-written. And it's part of that Simon & Schuster series, the Modern Witchcraft series. I don't have the count. I think I have 3 more books in this series in my pile to be read at some point. I'm looking forward to them because a couple of the writers I do know, not personally, but I know of their work. And so far, this series has not disappointed. That was one book. The other book that we talked about in April was HausMagick, Transform Your Home with Witchcraft by Feldmann. Really enjoyed it. It was a little different in terms of what we've been talking about up until now. It's all about creating space that's sacred and meaningful for you in a way that works for you, in a way that works for your budget. I loved this book. It was a fun read. I loved the images, just the different types of ways to decorate your home with recipes, which I loved. You know, I love the recipes in these books. Beautiful book. More links to this below. And then, unfortunately, this month I had a book that I wasn't totally into. Instead of giving it just a 1 star, I gave it a 2 star because it's not horrible, but it's not necessarily a book that I would recommend for this thing. So this book, Moon Power, Lunar Rituals for Connecting with Your Inner Goddess by Simone Butler, takes you through each of the signs of the zodiac, combines it with a goddess and goddess attributes, and then also I think gives you rituals for each of the, like a new moon ritual and a full moon ritual for that sign and that deity, along with journal exercises. Like it is organized in a really great way. It seeks to share really great information. I found that the languaging was outdated, a little sexist, and I'm really conflicted about this book. If you can get past that, it'll be helpful. It's great. It's a great bit of information, but I feel like the other books that do this better in a way that's, I don't know, more up to date, more relevant, maybe, more current, I guess is the way I'd say it. I'm still bummed out about this book because I really, really wanted to like it. But I was halted by that. Every book that we read that's a nonfiction book is going to have stuff that doesn't relate to you, or you don't relate to, or is not of use to you. Someone in the comments mentioned, oh gosh, and I wish I remembered the quote, but basically the quote is a really great way of saying what I typically say, which is take what works for you and leave the rest. I can generally do that really well. I'm not quite sure why this bothered me so much. I think it was because it was sexist in a way that triggered maybe my own just like girl, we're past this already kind of vibe. So take all that for what it's worth for you. I think that there are other books that do this better. I wanted this book to be much more than it was. I'm holding out for books that do this better in a more current and relevant language. I would harken back to the book that I read, I think it was maybe early March, maybe late February, but it was The 12 Faces of the Goddess. Does this really, really, really well through the lens of Jungian psychology and archetypes. That book was fantastic. It did this better. And even though, this is something I want to say, even though that book and this book both are addressed predominantly to a female demographic, the other book felt much more inclusive. And I think that there are just ways to do that. So it's what it is, this book. I don't know that I've talked to anyone who's also read this book, so I would love, if any of you have read it, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it. But that's it. I'm hoping that, you know, less and less books are books that I don't like. But yeah, it's one that you can steer away from if you're interested in something that does this in a much more inclusive manner. 12 Faces of the Goddess will do that for you. But these are the books and the audiobook. I will link to all these things and to the individual reviews for each of these books below as well. And that was it for April. It was a good month. And I really loved that April had 5 Mondays. So there were actually 5 books for this month. I'm so into, like, it's my Virgo moon. I love like schedules and patterns. And anyway, it was gratifying that there were 5 books for this month. If you're reading other things, I want to hear what you're reading. And like that was April. And we're probably already deep into May by the time this video comes out. There's some goodies coming in May, which I'm really excited about. Let me know how you're doing. If not, we will see each other on social media, the website, email, and here. Have a wonderful, magical week, and we'll talk soon.